So on one of my last videos, I got a great question from Chris Carr about, he asked why the training shift to sumo. And as some of you or most of you have been watching, you know, I just started working with Dr. Josh Colon and for my strength coaching, and he handles all my programming now. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't do sumo. And I know that's a bullshit thing to say because I'm always telling people to do the hard things and do things they don't like to do. I hate doing sumo. I'm not very good at it, and that's probably, I mean, let's face it, it's probably the reason most of us don't do some of the things that we don't do. Because we're not very good at it, and you don't like doing things you're not good at. And you might think like, oh, well, you know, just regular deadlifts are good enough. While I can agree that regular deadlifts are good and they're solid and you should be doing them, sumo deadlifts have their place. I haven't had an in-depth discussion with Josh about why he programs sumos or what his theory behind doing sumo deadlifts are. But I can tell you what I do know about sumo deadlifts. They build strong hips. You cannot build your hips in the same way with the conventional deadlift. So reason number one, strong explosive hips. That's what we need as athletes. That's what we're gonna have to have across all sports. You know, obviously this is mostly a Highly Games channel, but y'all know I play rugby as well. So strong explosive hips. There's also a little bit of preservation of the low back as well. Oftentimes you don't get as much of a harsh angle on the low back, so it saves spares the low back a little bit. Really just shifting that focus to like really just your hips, your adductors, and everything. So that's another good reason to just kind of save a little bit of the mileage on the low back. I presume during season, you know, sumo might be the way to go. In fact, I was listening to the Go and Rope podcast with Tom Soroka, who is a seasoned athlete and a well-respected coach in the space. And that's what he talks about a little bit is using sumo deadlifts to kind of spare the back a little bit during season. Saves you a little bit. But I think reason number one is to build strong, explosive hips. And then if I'm doing conventional deadlifts as well, I'm really building kind of a well-rounded strength through my hips. So a little bit of both. And so to answer the question more directly, it said why the training shift to sumo deadlifts. And you know, it is a shorter range of motion, and it's not sport specific because other than with the pick and a caber, you know, we don't really do things like that very much. So there's an important point in there, and Chris did say it. Not everything we do has to be sport specific. We're just building general strength. That's what the gym is for. Throwing is for throwing, and lifting is for getting stronger, for throwing. I don't think there's any intent to shift me to be a sumo deadlifter. In fact, today's session, I have conventional deadlifts, not lifting sumo. So I think it's just gonna be a little bit of both, a good mix. To just kind of, again, bulletproof the hips, make me powerful in a broader sense, build that explosive hip strength so that I can hopefully carry over to the field, and just a little hip health too. I think forcing me to go into those wider stances like that, like would be for like a wide stance, like a sumo squat almost, is really just kind of building up my ability to externally rotate and own the position. So another one of my coaches, John, always talks about owning positions. And range of motion, like we find ourselves in external rotation a lot as athletes with the knee rotating outwards, you know, knees going apart from each other. And so we should own those positions. If you find yourself, you know, when your hips open, and you're floating through that position, and there's points where you're not stable. So if you just stopped and tried to feel and load into that position, but you feel weak in it, then you don't own the position. And it's important that we do own every portion of the position. It makes us more resilient to injury, and it makes us overall stronger athletes. So again, I didn't talk to Josh. We didn't go into depth discussing Jiu Sumo, but just the common sense of a long time training for me has told me that we should strengthen ourselves in all these positions. And I mean, part of me hiring and paying a coach, not holding myself accountable, have somebody else holding me accountable, and I won't shy away from programming in these things. You know, like I've been in charge of my own training for pretty much my entire career of being an athlete, and I didn't program in some stuff that I probably should have. So, like I said, now having somebody else that coaches that stuff, puts that stuff in there, I'm bought in, and I'm going to give it a whirl, and we're going to see the results. Should be some good results. So here's where we're wrapping up the second week of the program. I'm still kind of using real conservative training maxes. So today it's deadlifts up to 80% for sets of 3, and I'm using 605 as a training max right now. We're gonna see how I feel just overall, like if the body's still feeling healthy and good and strong, and I'm not getting any warning signals from the back. And if that continues to go up, I'll probably give it a good 4 weeks before I really bump those numbers up to just be less conservative. It feels good, even being explosive like that. You know, it feels a little guarded, particularly right there. Like I feel almost like a nerve saying, hey, hold on. You sure you're ready for this? But just through the motion, no pain. Of course, no weird sensations, right? No weird nerve like, hey, something going down the leg or whatever. None of that. So it's a good sign, I think. I'm not even aching a whole lot after I'm done. I'm very aware of the issue. I'm very aware of the location of my body that's been giving me problems for the last 3 months. But it doesn't feel like it's upset or hurt. So, conservative, right? Smart, trying to be smart.
All right, so this is where things started to take a pretty good downturn. Don't want to act like I was in immense amounts of pain or struggle or whatever. Not gonna act like I overcame a whole lot, but as I got up in these heavier sets, I started just becoming acutely aware of that SI joint on my back and on my left side SI joint, and it was really frustrating. I mean, this session on its own would have been pretty physically challenging, just the overall volume of the deadlifts, and then the single leg work, and you know, a couple new movements kind of peppered in there. All on its own would have been a challenge, but mentally this was extra challenging. And I don't know how many of you have been in a situation where, you know, you're kind of dealing with this nagging issue that's not really an injury, but has all the signs and symptoms of an injury. You know, something that's holding you back. That's what this was for me. This was just couldn't stop thinking about the little bit of aches and issues that I was having. I don't typically wear a belt when I'm deadlifting, or really I only typically wear a belt when I'm overhead pressing prior to this little issue. And so I'm messing around a lot with like where to wear the belt to make it most comfortable for pulling. I feel like it gets in the way for deadlifts the most. And you can see here, I tried to go for a beltless. I'm like, oh, I'll just try it with the belt. And then the only thing I could think about was little ache. Oh, I don't want to injure it. I don't want to exacerbate a problem. And so went over and put the belt on, and yeah, it was just in my head, and that's what made it this session that much more difficult. Very frustrating and very draining. So whatever. And then, like, after the deadlifts were done, it was achy to, like, hinge at the hips for any of the other exercises that I was doing. All the rest of the day at home, just cooking, leaning over the stove and the sink, was a little bit achy. And then the next day when I started work, I was, start the day with a 2-hour drive to work, and then it was pretty stiff, and again, acutely aware of it, and so I'm thinking about that. And that's stressful and frustrating. But then after I got done walking around a little bit at work, within the first couple hours, I was on my feet a lot. It felt better. It wasn't an injury. It's not pain. And just some walking makes it feel 75% better than it does when sitting still. So yeah, so that's where I'm at, struggling with that a little bit mentally. That's going to wear me out more so than the actual stress of the exercise itself. I'm going to keep doing things, and I'm going to keep hoping it gets better. I'm going to keep addressing it directly with some rehab, and I'm not to the point where I want to avoid any specific strengthening exercise. I'll try to avoid the goofy shit, but conventional deadlifts, I'm not trying to throw them out of the program yet. So we'll see how it goes over these next couple of months, and do what I can do. All right, thanks for watching and listening to me bitch about stuff. Get out there, train yourself, train through something. Be awesome. Talk to you later.